today's generation is playing entirely in a different way. I consider myself blessed to have been working with all my guys. I thought I must become a coach because Daratar Singh was there in the back of my head always. We as coaches, we have a lot of responsibility. We are not only supposed to teach basketball skills to our students, our trainees, but we have to become an example for them in every field of life. I could read and write Urdu and Punjabi and Dogri and English and Hindi. Who can take the bull by the horn? Anybody can teach dribbling, shooting, or passing.
Our guest today is the head coach of the national basketball team of India. He has around 30 years of experience of coaching basketball players. And if that wasn't enough, he has over 2 decades of experience as a journalist in print as well as electronic media. So please welcome the man, the legend, the coach himself, Mr. Aman Sharma. Hello, Aman sir. How are you?
Hi, Abhishek. I'm good, and I'm very happy to see you. Thank you for the kind words that you've
likewise.
given me. Thank you very much.
No, the words don't do justice to your esteemed personality, I must say. And I hope you're doing safe in India.
Thank you so much.
It would be really hard, for a sports coach to be working from home. How does it feel?
Yeah, it is quite innovative. I found it. I never knew that coaching can also be done online. So we have been asked to frame weekly training programs and post them to our trainees who are away, and then they execute those training programs and send us their videos, and then we do whatever little correction that we can do. And this is a absolutely new experience, very innovative, and the entire world is innovating, and so is the coaching profession as well.
Yes, I think every place, every organization is evolving, and I mean you've seen a lot of. I mean, your profile is amazing. You've been into this industry for more than 30 years, and how have you seen the things change? How have the students changed for you?
Yeah, see, 30 years is a long time. It's been 28 years to be precise, and things have evolved since then immensely. The infrastructure has changed. We have evolved as professionals. I remember the times when you people were training, and the trainees that we have now. There's a lot of difference in terms of see these people we are training right now are very smart. These are much more smarter. They have access to internet, so they keep on the toes. If you tell them something, it doesn't become a gospel to them. They will think on those lines. They'll think about those things from different perspectives, different angles, and they'll go to the internet and find out which is the best for them. And when you go to them the next day, they have volley of questions for you. So they keep you on the toes and help us evolve as coaches as well.
So we were on the dumber side.
No, I won't say that. There was another, when you people used to train maybe some 20 years back, coach's word used to be a gospel to you. You would, understand it the way he makes you understand and execute it exactly the copybook time. But now this generation is much more smarter, and access to internet has, opened quite a few windows for them, and they would find out the best choice for them. That in turn helps the coaches also to innovate, to come prepared when they come and face their trainees. They they have to weigh their options, look into various aspects, and then innovate the technique according to the demand and the peculiar, the uniqueness of the trainees as well. So it has become much more challenging, I would say.
Right, interesting. Do you think the NBA has, I mean, as you said, there's a lot of access to the information these days, and NBA has, I think it's becoming more and more commercialized and more accessible to, the younger generations as well. I still remember when I used to train with you, and there was this one match going on. I made a very fancy shot, and I still get nightmares because you screamed at me, although that basket was counted. but I see this generation has floaters and all that, fancy kind of stuff. That's more prominent these days. What do you say about that?
Absolutely. This is what the transformation is all about. Uh, there was a time when we used to be very, very conventional. We used to go only by what we were told, what we were taught in the institutions. But gradually, you see, things are expanding. The techniques have expanded over the years. The capabilities of the players have grown, leaps and bounds. There were certain things which probably, say, 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, people would, could not execute that kind of precision. But now they are able to do that because the newer technique coming in, the level of fitness has improved quite a bit, and the children are working over it. I would say uh, that point of time when you are referring to, maybe say 20 years back,
Yeah.
People would confine themselves to what the coaches have told them. Now, as I said, they would go to the internet. There are so many videos of individual techniques, team tactics, your personal training programs, your fitness techniques have evolved. So gradually, the kind of basketball that was played, say, 20 years back, uh, the today's generation is playing entirely in a different way. The basketball remains the same, but they have evolved. They are playing the game in a much, I would say, better way.
Right. So, Aman, so when you're not training students during the sporting events, so how does your average day look like?
The coaching is not confined only to the training. You see, what happens is we train, say, 3 hours in the morning and 3 hours in the afternoon, in the evening, but there is so much that goes beyond these 6 hours, which a coach has to put in. He has to design his training programs every day. When we come to the field, we have our lesson plans ready. The training schedule of that particular day has to be designed, looking into several things, looking into the competition. And then we have meetings with the players. Then there are players who have injury problems. You have to take care of them. See, in India, a coach is a multitasker. He doesn't have
True.
support staff, access to, say, a trainer or a physio. So a coach is a physio also. If you have an injured player whom you're expecting to play for you, say, in a month or in a couple of weeks, you become a physio for him, and you drive to his whatever place he lives, maybe a hostel or his place. Maybe you accompany him to the doctor, or do the resistance exercises for him. You have to spend a lot of time with such people. Then you also have to, for the children who are our trainees who are staying in our hostels, you have to be present when they are eating, and then you have to supervise whether they are eating well. uh, then you also have to kind of keep an eye on their academics, which is very important. We do not have that kind of a system here in India, wherein children, the trainees who are staying in the hostels, you have full-time wardens for them. So coaches have to double up as wardens also at times. So
That's
you spend a
interesting.
lot of time with your trainees, and it's not only the class job. You have to work a lot.
Hmm. So as you said that, it's 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the evening. I remember we used to train a lot as well. Now that the modern studies have come up, do you think we are overtraining?
Well, this is quite a debatable thing in India. Rather, I would say the studies say that if you want to be a player, a basketball player at a substantial level, say if you want to represent your country, uh, you have to train, say, 150 to 160 hours a month. Uh, that is around, if you are training, say, 6 days a week. So that is quite a lot of work. But there is another school of thought which says this is too much of work. But there are different studies. So in India, we train 6 hours, 6 days a week, and 5 hours a day for the players who are identified talent who are undergoing training in specialized programs of the Sports Authority of India. They have to train at least 5 hours a day and 6 days a week.
So how are they able to balance their, the study life there, as a student? Because it's really hard in India.
Absolutely. It is hard because a lot of emphasis is laid on academics in India, Uh, but fortunately, things are changing. There was a time when the academicians, the principals, and the teachers of the school would not give that kind of leverage or, I would say, relaxation to the athletes to accommodate their training schedules, their training regimens. But now, many schools, we have been writing to them that this guy, who is a student of your school, is undergoing a specialized training program. And we would be grateful if you can excuse his morning assembly or maybe a zero period or some kind of that kind of an activity to enable him to undergo a training program, especially in the morning. And I'm very happy that many schools are responding positively, and we have been able to get that kind of relaxation for our players, and it is paying off.
Right. Interesting. So that was about the school and the teachers agreeing to it. What about the parents? I mean, I've heard
Yeah.
their main emphasis is on only the studies. And the other
No,
day I
Abhi,
was
no, Abhi,
sorry, I cut you
I
off.
would say no problem. I'm very happy to see this change coming in our society. There was a time when children, when we were playing, our parents thought that we would end up doing nothing in life because we were playing in the morning, we were playing in the evening, and they thought that we'll be ruined, we'll be perished. But things have changed. Now I have seen parents accompanying their children to the playground and sitting outside the playing arenas, watching their children play, and taking a lot of interest in their sporting careers, talking to the coaches, uh, meeting the doctors, the dietitians, the nutritionists, and taking a lot of interest in the playing careers of their ward. This is a very pleasant change, and that is why, and this is reflecting in India's performance over the years, in the recent years.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of commercial activity around the sporting industry growing because parents are taking a lot of interest in the sporting careers of their wards now.
Right. Are there any relaxations that the education system grants to these kind of players? Or do they have to juggle between their,
Yes, sports in India.
fitness life, their sport life, and their the academic side?
Uh, uh, See, this sports in India, as you know, is a state subject. So every state has its own sports policy. Though there is a Sports Authority of India, which is a centralized governing body which looks after the entire sports scenario in the country, but it remains the responsibility of the state. It's a state subject. So every state has its own policy, which does not, have anything to do with the policy of another state. So there are certain states which have very lucrative sports policy, wherein they are incentivizing sports in a big way. There are other states which do not have that kind of incentivization for sports. Uh, in Jammu and Kashmir, there is some kind of a incentivization at the level of school. When you pass out from the school and you want to go to the professional college, there is some kind of a quota for the sports person. Then Jammu and Kashmir government also inducts 25 outstanding sportsmen into government jobs every year, which is another incentive.
Mm.
And now there are so many other opportunities because sports has grown as an industry by leaps and bounds. May not be in our part of the country, say in Jammu and Kashmir, but in the rest of the country. And there is a lot of opportunity around. So, yes, sport is growing as an industry and giving a lot of opportunities to the players now.
Yeah, fair enough. Now that you were talking about sports in general, if you look at basketball in particular, I'm pretty sure genes play a very important role. Do you think Indians have the necessary genes or the structure that it takes to be a hardcore basketball player?
Absolutely. You see, yes and no, I would say, because uh, if you look at the Asian level, Indian team has been playing only till the Asian level till now. We have been participating in the Asian Championship, though now we go to the Olympic qualifier windows at the senior level. What I have seen is, as far as the Asian level is concerned, Indians are pretty good. We have in the national camp, we come across people who are at the junior level. I was the head coach of the under 18 Indian team last year, and I had at least 6 to 7 guys who were close to 7 feet in the national camp, and they were not only tall with respect to basketball, as you say. They were not only giants, they were very good. They had good coordinative abilities, good sprinting ability, which generally we would not be seeing, say, 20 years back. We had a tall guy, say, 20 years back when we were training
Yeah,
basketball, we
true.
would come across somebody who was a giant, but he had very poor coordinative
Yeah.
ability. He would have a problem with his spine or something. But now, uh, with the development in the field of sports sciences, now we are able to handle these people well, and we have very tall players and robust and with very good coordinative abilities as well. So, and this is one aspect. Secondly, we generally try to compare ourselves or with the NBA or maybe with the European basketball, that kind of genetic superiority. There is no doubt about that. They are maybe their muscle composition. They have superior genes with respect to their athleticism and all. We may not be able to match them, but at the Asian level, I think we are doing very well, and genetically also we are okay.
All right. So even the training has evolved, so that plays a major role too, right?
Yeah. Absolutely, the training has evolved. There is no doubt about that. See, in India, the coaches are being subjected to international coaching programs, international coaching clinics. We are getting a lot of help from the Sports Authority of India and the respective state governments also, wherein our professional enhancement programs are being taken up. Our coaches are doing well, and many national federations have hired coaches, world-class coaches also, now to train in India. And we people get an opportunity to train along with them, and that definitely opens a window for your own personal development as professional.
Great. So now before we proceed, I have a little surprise for you. If you check your email on the laptop, there is a special link that we've sent to you. Please, would you mind opening that?
Okay. Okay. Should I play now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey guys, myself Shubham Bhardwaj. I'm a professional basketball player.
Hello, Aman sir.
Hey Abhishek, hello sir.
This is Shubham Sharma from Jammu and Kashmir.
My name is Gurujwal. I am from Jammu.
Hi sir, your tiger reporting sir.
I would like to dedicate this video to my coach Shri Aman Sharma ji. My coach is very friendly and very open-minded person.
आज का वीडियो हमारे कोच को डेडिकेट किया जाता है मिस्टर अमन शर्मा जी। अमन शर्मा एक ऐसा नाम है जो बास्केटबॉल की हिस्ट्री में सबसे बहुत बड़ा नाम है।
Abhishek, I must say I was lucky to have Aman Sharma as my coach. I would rather say as my guru, who always inspired me to grow every day in my life than the day before. Not only on court, but off court as well.
He always called me tiger, whether it's on or off the field. I have known Aman sir from last 15 years. I have seen every side of his nature, whether it's father-like, friend, or a great motivator.
As a human sir, आप बहुत हेल्पफुल हैं और हमेशा से ही एक गुड थिंकिंग रखी अपने बच्चों को लेके कि लाइफ में आगे बढ़ो, कुछ बड़ा करो, कुछ अच्छा करो और हमेशा हार्ड वर्क करो।
इतना प्यार है कि हमें आज तक सर की गाड़ियों के नंबर भी याद हैं। सर हमारे दिलों में रहते हैं।
He is a true leader with utmost knowledge, dedication, and passion for the game.
JK02 BQ 2102.
Whatever the situation is, he is always there for us. I must say, he is a very committed and hardworking personality I have seen in basketball fraternity.
सर आप हमेशा से ही मेरे आइडल रहे हैं और ऑन कोर्ट ऑफ कोर्ट मैंने आपसे बहुत कुछ सीखा है।
Ranveer, one of my colleague, he doesn't like to defense, he like offense mostly. Whenever he doesn't do defense, Ranveer said, sir usually says to Ranveer तू अब defense कर ले, नहीं तो जूता खोलूँगा अब. And Ranveer usually says, sir अब मार ही लो आप मुझे.
Thank you so much, not only for teaching us basketball, but for changing our lives, inspiring us to work hard, for all the moral values that you inculcate in us.
सर बहुत केयरिंग है और इस केयरिंग के लिए मेरे पास एक बहुत फनी क्लिप है। इफ़ यू रिमेंबर सर, हम इंटर यूनिवर्सिटी चंडीगढ़ खेलने गए थे और ड्यूरिंग मैच मुझे चोट लगी थी और मैं हॉस्पिटलाइज हो गया था। और जब मैं हॉस्पिटल पहुंचा तो जब मेरी आंखें खुली तो मैंने सबसे पहले उठ के पूछा, सर हमारे मैच का क्या बना? और आपने बोला तुझे मैच ही पड़ी है। मेरी सांसें रुक गई थी, अगर मुझे कुछ हो जाता तो।
JK02 BF 3440.
He is a person who says always do justice to your potential and capacity. Do not settle for small things. Go for big things. Go for big achievements. He is a person who says that if you think small, you should settle for small. You will get satisfied with these things, but don't get satisfied with the little things. Go for the dream big, think big, and achieve the big things in life.
JK02 AS 0102.
Despite of all odds, he brought the game to next level, especially for our state.
मैं भगवान से यही प्रे करूँगा कि आप हमेशा खुश रहें, हमेशा स्वस्थ रहें और आपको भगवान लंबी उम्र दे। थैंक यू सो मच सर, एंड थैंक यू सो मच अभिषेक भैया टू गिव मी अपॉर्चुनिटी टू स्पीक अबाउट द ग्रेट पर्सनालिटी ऑफ बास्केटबॉल। थैंक यू, बाय बाय।
Sir, we are grateful to have you, sir, amongst us all from several years, and thank you so much for being there for us.
ये जो भी आज हम जिस भी मुकाम पे है सिर्फ सर की बदौलत हैं।
I would love to see his team standing on podium one day with the gold around their neck.
Thank you sir, thank you for everything.
God bless.
I am very honored, humbled that I have a coach like you, sir. Thank you for being here always with me.
And Abhishek, I also congratulate you for taking such a great initiative. Cheers.
We love you, sir. Thank you so much.
I'm truly humbled, and it is overwhelming. Thank you so much, everyone, and thank you, Abhishek. It was truly emotional. Yeah.
Yeah.
You deal with
deserve
these
that,
guys. Yeah.
So they are my
Many
partner in
times.
crime.
I love them, and I consider myself blessed to have been working with all my guys ever since I've been in this profession since 28 years now. I started when I was in a Army regimental center in UP, and I was handed over nine boys, 12 years old, and who were put in a regimental center of the Army, and they had to follow the entire regiment of the Army. And those boys were from very rural background of India, didn't know much, separated from their parents at very early age, and had several emotional issues as well. And I am very lucky. Since then, all the boys, all my trainees with whom I have had an opportunity to work with, have been very respectful, have been very loving, and I would rather trace it to a time when I thought of becoming a coach. I was studying in a residential army school, and everybody expecting, including my parents, they expected me to join the army one day. And I was also determined to go to the army. And suddenly, I came across a gentleman who was actually an NCC instructor in our school, but he was a basketball player of his time. He had been playing for services. He was such a warm a person that I was automatically, attached with him as a parent. And he also extended all his love and warmth to me and to several of us who were pursuing our studies in that residential school. And I was so impressed by his persona that somewhere in my heart, I thought I must become like him one day. And from there onwards, the entire perspective of, of making a career, doing something in life changed. I just wanted to become like Sardar Atar Singh, Subedar Atar Singh, who was actually an NCC instructor who played basketball as well. And then destiny took me to Punjab, where I went there to play basketball. And I got admission in a college which was just opposite to the National Institute of Sport. So after I graduated from my college, so I thought I must become a coach because Sardar Atar Singh was there in the back of my head always. I used to remember him for his humility, for his goodness, for his kindness. And fortunately, I got admission in the National Institute of Sport. I graduated from that as an overall topper of the Institute 29 posts, and I was offered an appointment in the Sports Authority of India on day one. I never had to think about anything else. During the convocation itself, I got my appointment letter, and I was told to join at the Jat Regimental Center of the Indian Army at Bareilly. So I started my career from there. What I wanted to tell you after seeing this wonderful video was that we as coaches, we have a lot of responsibility. We are not uh, only supposed to teach basketball skills to our students, our trainees, but we have to become an example for them in every field of life. We have, through our leadership, we need to train them uh, to deal with the life as a whole in different life skills and make them better human beings. I think anybody can teach dribbling, shooting, or passing, but the prime responsibility on the coach is to teach his trainees the skills of life.
So, okay, that leads me to a question. What is the difference between a good coach and a great coach?
A good coach would do his job. He would come to the court prepared and teach the basketball skills, and he thinks that he has done his job. He would become a good coach. He would get desirable results from his team, from his players, and he would be satisfied. But a great coach would try to strike a chord with his trainees from day one. Every day, he would peek into the souls of his trainees and find out how best he could be of help in developing them into great human beings. And this job he does for years, every day, every session, till he retires. So that is the difference, I think, between a good coach and a coach who really wants his trainees to develop into good people.
Yeah, that's really powerful, sir. So, okay, let me rephrase that. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much would you rate yourself, and why 11?
I am very bad in numbers, Abhishek. It will be difficult for me to rate myself. Definitely, I'm not 11. I would be somewhere below 5, but I would prefer people to rate me rather than me rating myself.
Oh, you'll be up there with the great coaches of all time. Trust me. So Aman sir, is there any team mantra that you have before any match? I mean, is there any particular way of exciting and uh, just encouraging your students before the match, the final match? Is there something like typical that you do?
Yes, every coach. But what I have observed as a coach is somebody who motivates this player before every session, before every drill, before every task, does not have to motivate his team before a match. He doesn't have to make much effort to back them up, because somebody who has put in sincere work during the training doesn't need to talk much when he is actually competing. But it depends. It depends on the situation. It depends on the competition, on the opponent, and on the day when you are playing. Uh, so your responses, your motivational little brief has to be different every time. But definitely, it does wonders. And as a smart coach, every time when you speak to your guys before they start their warm up before a match, uh, you have to have a different script. If you have the same script, your team would not listen to you. They would be bored by the same set of words every time. So you have to be a good script writer to be a good motivational speaker for your team before you actually prepare them for the game. So it has to be different every time.
True, and I think one of the saying goes, the more you sweat in the training, the less you bleed in the war, something on the battleground, something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's very true. Okay, so now coming to your other side, you were a journalist for a good amount of time. So please walk us through that.
Abhishek, it happened by default. In fact, I never knew that I could do something in the field of journalism as well. Uh, I remember when you were training with me in the university basketball court, I came across someone who wanted me to do some program on radio, on a radio station of Jammu. So he invited me there as a guest in a program, in a weekly sports bulletin. So I participated in that program where they asked me a couple of questions as a guest, and suddenly there was a lady who told me that you had a recordable voice, and why didn't you take up a Vani course, which is a voice modulation course, which is conducted by All India Radio. So I said I would love to do that, and before that I didn't know anything about that. She was the first to tell me that I had a recordable voice, and she could do something. So I underwent that Vani course, and then suddenly a producer from the radio itself, he introduced me to local television. So I went there as a novice, but gradually I found that there was much that I could do. I could write. I had, I could read and write Urdu and Punjabi and Dogri and English and Hindi. So that helped me. I could write new scripts. I could edit new scripts, and I could sit on the television screen as presenter, and people started liking me. So that is how my journey as a electronic journalist started in Jammu. I worked for 21 years as a journalist. I recently gave up because of my preoccupation with the national team, where I was traveling. And during my travels with the Indian team, I had problems handling my assignment as a journalist. When I was working with newspapers, there were problem of timing and other things. So it was a deliberate decision to hang my boots, rather I would say hang my pen, and I had to call it off. So after working in television for around 10 years, wherein I explored because I didn't have any background as such, but I explored, I evolved, I learned a lot from the people who were doing well in this field in J&K, and I was very fortunate to have certain people who helped me. And I was very satisfied with my journey as an electronic uh, as a journalist who was working with television. And then suddenly I thought I must do something in print as well. I started writing. I started as a columnist, and then I joined a newspaper as a sub editor, and I was elevated as the editor of a multi edition newspaper in J&K. and I worked till April of the 2019, starting from 1999. So that makes 20 years. So I love my tenure as my experiences which I gained as a journalist in a place like Jammu and Kashmir, where so much was happening with regard to the insurgency and militancy and political turmoil and other things which were happening here. And I mean, it was a challenge for me to maintain a balance between my career as a basketball coach and also as a journalist, and journalist who was active both in television as well as in print. So I was very busy for say around 15, 16 years. I was working overtime, but I loved it.
All right. So would you go back to journalism again after your duties are relaxed?
Abhishek, I have been a very passionate journalist. I have written on course of subjects, very diversified reporting also I have done. I've written on so many things, and I love working in television as well. But television is one thing which has a different set of demands. I would rather stay away from television now because of several factors. But yes, I would like to contribute in print. But what happens is right now, since I am associated with the national team, it is becoming a little difficult for me. But once I retire from my service in Sports Authority of India, which would happen sometimes in 2027, maybe I can think of picking up the pen again.
Oh yeah, that will be our pleasure, sir, if you come back to journalism. So now coming back to the all the coaches are associated with the Sports Authority of India. How has that played a role?
See, Sports Authority of India is a centralized agency. It's a government department which works under the Ministry of Youth Services and Sports, and which is responsible for the overall development of sports in the country. Then, as I said, sports is a state subject. Every state has a sports department or a sports authority, and they have their different set of programs. I was very lucky to be employed by the Sports Authority of India in 1992, and since then I am working with them. And Sports Authority of India has some very good schemes which have been implemented in collaboration with different state governments and their sports departments all across the country, wherein we have residential training schemes for identified sports persons in different sports disciplines. There's so many schemes, a number of schemes in which the identified talented sports persons are inducted. They stay there in their hostel. They are given all facilities, including their academic, their boarding and lodging, their medical, their coaching expenses, all kinds of kitting and sports consumables are provided to them, and they are subjected to sustained training till such time they either get employed or they get into professional colleges or they get into national teams. So this is how, these are the sports academies, these are the nurseries through which we get the top level, elite level athletes in India. So Sports Authority of India is engaged into these schemes, and I'm also working in one of these schemes in Jammu, which came up recently, so a couple of years back. And through this scheme, we are training some 40 residential athletes in basketball and handball in Jammu and Kashmir, and we are looking forward to expand it further.
Aman sir, correct me if I'm wrong, but there could be a downside to it, because if you look at like other countries, if you look at Australia right now, if you have to get a personalized coaching from a world-class coach, you have to pay a fortune. And in India, it's so easy. So do you think there's always that diminishing utility principle kicking in, and people don't valuing it so much. Like, consider the internet in India. Jio made it so cheap that it was considered to be for the good of the masses. But you see how I think majority of the people are not even using it for the betterment of their own selves.
Absolutely, I agree. But India has a different set of problems, a different setup altogether. But in India also, sport is coming up, as I told you, as an industry in a big way. There are academies which have come up in certain sports like badminton, like table tennis, like
Yeah.
cricket. People call it, maybe in Australia also, people call India as a one sport nation. But I think India is now, the Indian sport is growing out of the shadows of cricket now. We have world-class academies in badminton, where we are producing Olympic champions. We have produced all England champions, and similarly now we have private academies in games like basketball also, where people are coming up with very good facilities, world-class facilities, good coaches, and those who can afford them, they send their children in those academies as well. But since people like me who are working in the government sector, we have to avail our services to masses, at least till the time you are serving in the government sector. This is how it goes. But once you're retired or you're not working with the government sector, you can set up your own academy, your own infrastructure, and make it commercialized in any way according to your own whims and fancies. But since people like me who are working in the government sector, they have to avail their services to the market.
True. And I heard you had plans of coming to Lebanon and then finally Australia. I would have gotten a chance to meet you here.
Yeah, I would have loved to. We had our preparations going on very well at the National Basketball Academy for the Asia Oceania Youth Championship, which was scheduled to be held at Beirut in Lebanon from 5th to 12th April. And similarly, the same competition for the women's section was being held at Canberra. And we were preparing for these two competitions before this corona scare struck India, and Sports Authority of India had to call off all camps for all the sporting competitions, and we had to fly back home. Our children were doing very well. Our teams were very well prepared, and we were looking forward to do reasonably good in this edition of the championship.
Does that impact the performance of the athletes as well? Because the lifespan or the performance span of a basketballer is quite narrow. So I think it disturbs it a bit, because no one saw it coming, but that's the downside.
Absolutely, it is, Abhishek. You know it very well, especially in the age group championship, where suppose it's an under 18, you remain under 18, you are representing your country maybe once or at the most twice. So you have only two opportunities or one opportunity, and if you lose that because of corona or whatever, so you lose a lifetime opportunity. And then what happens is you might graduate into the senior team, senior national team, or you might not. So
that's a different pool of players altogether.
Very crucial.
Yeah, true.
Absolutely. So it can be a loss. And then what happens is, even if like the Tokyo Olympics, they have now been pre-scheduled. What happens is the athlete who achieves the peak, looking into the dates of a competition at a particular point of time, has to re-peak. He has to peak again. It becomes very, very difficult to regain that rhythm, to regain that kind of energy and other things. Is very difficult. So there would be many players across the globe. I'm not talking only about basketball in India. Across the globe, especially with respect to the Tokyo Olympics being rescheduled, many world championships being rescheduled, many sports persons will lose a lot of their hard work.
True. I think it's in every sector. Even businesses are suffering, the service sector is suffering. But if is there any good thing that you can attribute to coronavirus? I mean, you said that online classes are emerging. Is there anything good that we can, squeeze out of this as an opportunity?
See, when you have difficult times, they also bring along with them certain opportunities. So what has happened is, first of all, people have become very aware about their personal hygiene, especially in India, where you see people spitting around on the roads and not everywhere. Now, if you see somebody sitting somewhere, there would be 10 hands, to stop him from doing that. So that is one thing which has happened. The social distancing, people have started understanding the value. So, but with regards to our sports also, especially the athletes who are staying in hostels, they would also have to, kind of redesign the entire thing. Where we will have to see how we accommodate them. Earlier, there were like 3 athletes staying in one room. Now we might have to accommodate only 2 in a room so that we do not rush them. Similarly, there were times when in one training session there used to be 70 trainings. Maybe now we'll have to work for longer durations, longer hours, have lesser number of trainings in one session. So these are certain innovations which we are looking forward to, but there is a high-level committee which is pondering upon the entire thing, how we can restart the training processes all across, and what are the things that we'll have to keep in mind before we actually go into the training mode again.
Right. So, Aman, so this gets me to one section of our podcast, which it's called Been There, Done That. So now that you've seen so much in life, you have, coached hundreds of students. You've been spectacular, and you've even been in journalism. So if you had to give one message to whoever is listening to this, whoever is watching this, I mean, the crux of it all, just one message, what would that be?
I would say, especially because I have worked in India, still India is, people generally compare that it is 130 million people, and India is not producing the kind of results which such a huge population should be producing. My humble request, appeal would be to the parents to send their children to the sports field. Our Prime Minister has repeatedly said that those who play, they blossom. So if you want your children to blossom into better human beings, into people who can contribute to the nation building, play fields are the best places for them to train, to send them, and then you can sit on the sidelines and watch your children, blossom, as the Prime Minister says. So my biggest message would be to the society in general. I have seen many good people, well-to-do people, still restraining their children from going to the play field. My only message would be encourage sports person, encourage good talent, and send more and more children to the play field so that they can enjoy, they can sweat, and they can explore.
That's really powerful. I think there are some psychological advantages as well. I mean, students are going through, they could be going through depression, they could be going through hard times, and these things really help you ease your pressure and all these negativities in life.
Absolutely. Yes,
True.
they do. They do.
True.
And in the long run also, Abhishek, I have seen somebody who has played any game, who has trained for a couple of years in a proper regimen. It develops your personality in such a manner that you do not slip into depression
Absolutely.
at the drop of a hat.
Absolutely.
As we see, that makes you a better human being, a more responsible and a strong human being, who can take on life, who can take the bull by the horn. So these are the other things which sports inculcate.
Yeah, a sports person can take the defeat in life because we guys know
Absolutely.
how to. lose in life, but that's okay. It's always about getting up.
Absolutely. I
Sure.
agree.
Thank you, Aman sir. Thank you for your lovely time. I know you're a busy man, and even during this lockdown, you must be preparing some online classes, or I don't know, writing a blog, and whatnot. But
Thank you, Abhishek.
it's always lovely talking to you, and it's always very
Thank you so
knowledgeable
much.
to be in your presence. And thank you for talking to
Thank
us.
you. Thank you so much, Abhishek. God bless you, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. God bless you.
It's absolutely my pleasure, sir. Lovely talking to you.